Now, Jerry, now!
What? What now? Now it's on television now, me? What now? It's you? Well, then I haven't got a coat or a tie. Wait a second, don't move nothing. Wait, I'll get a coat. Don't run. What now? I'm on, yeah?
Lights, camera, action. Hello everyone, welcome back to Film2Table, and today we're going to interview our third guest for the project. This is Melvin Huffnagle. He is an African-American actor, writer, director, and assistant professor at Florida International University. Instead of speaking to me from across the world, he resides right here in Miami, just like me. Thank you for being here, Melvin. How are you today?
I'm fine, and thank you for inviting me to be here.
You're welcome, no problem. So let's dive into the first question.
Excellent.
Perfect.
Yeah, that's putting it lightly. I grew up in Buffalo, New York, and I don't know if you know anything about Buffalo, but it's a pretty blue-collar town. We weren't the richest family in the world, so doing something like theater or acting wasn't encouraged at all. But for whatever reason, I consider myself lucky because I knew at a young age that I wanted to be an actor. I was always the class clown. I was always imitating teachers and friends and family members. I was always entertaining people at parties, that sort of thing. So I've always had it in me. I never pursued it until my junior year in college. I actually played football all throughout my college career, and I never had the courage to actually pursue theater at that point. But for some reason, I was a broadcast journalism major, and our department was downstairs in the building, that upstairs was the theater department. And I would always peek my head up and see what was going on, go walk around, talk to some of the students up there. And I saw that there was a play that they were casting. And I auditioned for the play. I got the role in the play, did the play, and everyone loved it. And I was like, wow. And it just felt so easy. It just felt at home. I stopped playing football and I dedicated all my energy into, learning how to be a better actor, learning all about theater. By the time I was a senior, I realized I didn't have enough training to move to New York or Los Angeles, and I wanted to learn more about the craft. So my professors at the time, they encouraged me to audition for graduate school to get my MFA, just to get a deeper understanding. And so that's how I ended up at the University of Florida. And from there, after I graduated, I lived in New York for 20 years, and I was a working actor. You may have seen me on television. I've done a couple of Law and Order episodes. I have a film on Amazon called Brooklyn in July. It's a short film.
Yeah, I watched
So I
it.
did a bunch of stuff. You watched it?
Yeah, I did. It was
really
wow. Good. I cried.
Oh, dang, you watched it? Oh,
Yeah, I did. I did my research.
Did some research. Yeah, so I did a lot of work off Broadway. In the city, that just sustains me. As I said, it's not something that I felt it was something that chose me. It's kind of like a calling. You hear like priests or nuns or religious folks, they say they had a calling and it was something like that. And it's kind of the same thing for me. It just fulfills a spiritual need within me as a performer. I feel most like myself and most comfortable on stage in front of people, if that makes any sense at all. So that's the reason why I do it. And just as an artist, I feel like I was given this ability to do what I do, just to do something good with it, to make a change. As an artist, you should always have a mission and to want to use your gifts to make the world a better place. And that's my whole passion for doing what I do, is just to help others and to try to strive to be the best person I could be, to at the very least be an example, and just to encourage people to love each other and be kind.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah, that's really good to have that ambition and idea and mission as an artist, to not just do what you do, but do it for a specific reason, to help others and make an impact on your community.
Absolutely.
And, yeah. And that's also, I see that a lot in many of the roles that you undertake, especially as like in many of the performances you do with African American theater, you're always trying to, pinpoint the importance of the history and the unfairness and injustice in our society still happening today. So
Absolutely.
I'm going to ask a question about some of your acting reels that I watched on YouTube.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Yeah, I did a lot of research. So yeah.
For me, it all starts with the script. The script tells you the story. It tells you what's going on. It sets the tone or the atmosphere. It tells you who the players are, who are the people, what they stand for, what they want, what type of profession that person works. All those different things. Those are all clues within the script. So I take those clues and I look at the words and I try to embody them to create the character. Because the words give me certain images. Do you know what I mean? You have a uptight business professional. I think of a stiff person in the suit who's very serious. Just certain things. And so I let that inform me. And then going back to the script, it's just the dialogue and the situations. What's happening with these people? What do they want? What's your objective, basically? What do you want? What are your obstacles to get around it? And how do you get around those obstacles? And that's always been my process. So it's basically a standard Stanislavski. I don't know if you know who Konstantin Stanislavski is. Yeah. Approach. Okay, good. Sorry. And I also, like I said, I just did this actors retreat last week, and it's all about the Michael Chekhov technique. It's all about, physicalizing and just really enhancing your imagination with all these different things that I just named, but, using the script so that it becomes more real for you. And that's usually how I approach anything that I, take on as a actor.
Stanislavski, does he, because I learned about him in my theater class briefly. He's the theorist who focuses on, like you said, like physical movement, heavy on physical movement, or is that?
Oh, that's more Michael Chekhov. So when you Stanislavski, yes, yes. You've heard of the method, like method actors and that sort of thing. That style. Okay, you think of someone like Christian Bale, or these people who stay in character all day long, so that they can feel like they're that person. That's kind of, if I can say it, it's kind of a bastardization of Stanislavski's system. It's a more of American twist to it, but Stanislavski, the first acting teacher from the Moscow Art Theater in Russia, to actually have a system in place or an approach for actors, steps to follow for them to become actors, way to train, how to train your voice, your body, your imagination, understanding how to break down the script and your characters, like some of the things I was just saying to you. Those are kind of techniques that Stanislavski uses. And most actors, that's usually the first thing they're taught, is that system of acting. Yeah, again, it just goes back to the script. It's in the words, it's his storytelling. You can hear the voice of the writer when you read the story, and I can see the places. Haven't been to Pittsburgh too. I could see all the places that he was talking about, and just having history about August Wilson, knowing his plays and knowing how he writes, his spirit and his essence is in all of his plays. So I already had that. So I could already hear his voice, not to mention interviews and that sort of thing. So for me, it was just basically to capture what was written on the page and what his intention was when we're telling the story. And I think as long as you're true to that intention of the writer, you will always capture their spirit. You'll always be able to kind of be a vessel for that, to tell the story. So I just kind of let those words come through me and then just embody them, as I did say, yes, use those techniques to create different characters, visualizations, different vocal patterns and sounds and that sort of thing, which is just fun to me. I love doing that. It's like being a kid and it's just playing, using your imagination. So, yeah.
How long does that usually take?
Well, for this play, I was an emergency replacement. something happened with the original actor who was cast, and I only had 9 rehearsals. And the script is like 50 pages. So I had to learn all of that like super fast, which was stressful. I think I was in tears almost until opening because I'm like, how am I going to remember all of this stuff and try to tell the story accurately? I understood it and I comprehended the story and everything, you know, but just like you want to hit everything and it's just so much, you know, so it was a lot of late nights, just going over, repeating the script. And as I'm doing that, I'm actually physicalizing and moving things around so that I could feel the characters in my body. And that's how I was able to just kind of have that kind of ease and comfort. At least it seemed like it to you as an audience on stage to be able to do that. It's just a lot of preparation. So I crammed, it was like cramming for an final exam when you hadn't studied all year. You know, just in those 9 days, just getting all of those characters in and not trying not to forget. I'm like, can we just write some notes and leave them on stage in case I pick it up and read it? Like, you know, I was trying to think of little tricks, but no, not in a play like that. You have to know it all, you know, and that was one of the biggest challenges.
Yeah, even I think you mentioned it when I watched the play. When you were on stage, since you knew the character so well, and even if you like forgot a few lines, you were still able to, you know, create, almost form your own words out of what you think the character would have said.
Yeah. Sometimes, there was a couple of times there was some paraphrasing. There was a little improv going on until I got back on track. Yeah, that does happen sometimes. But when you have the script, you kind of know the order of it, and you kind of know what basically people are saying. So sometimes you might not get the words exactly correct, but you get the meaning and the intention of it right, which allows you to continue to go forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Did you have a notepad on stage with you at any point? I just remembered on one of the buildings. Did you have a notepad on there or no?
No, there were just a bunch of I had a bunch of papers but they were like pre-written poems that I'm supposed to read throughout the play. And then at the end, I give one of the poems to someone in the audience. Yeah. That's probably what you mean. Yeah, that there were no cheat sheets or anything like that. I mean,
I was thinking maybe something there.
No, trust me, I wish. When I was opening that dictionary, I was like, can I just have a bunch of stuff I could just read out here? But then, you know, my head would be out, so that would disconnect me from the audience. And you always should have to keep your head up. And in a play like this, where it's a one-person show, my audience is my scene partner, so I'm reacting directly with you. So if I'm doing this thing, like he's reading that, that's not real. So you can tell.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I wrote that because, you know, I like making films. I wanted to make film, and I just got a T4i or something like that, and I was just like, oh, this is a cool camera. I want to play with it and just make some videos. So I have the 2 actors are friends of mine that I've worked with the Leon Gray theater company in New York. So we're all part of that group. And I was like, you know, I want to do a cop show. I'd love to direct a cop show. I'd love to be on one of those. So I was like, I wrote this scene, but I didn't know how to end it. So that's how it has that little twist. I'm like, how do I want this to end? I'm like, what if they know each other? This has been going on and there's some history. So that's how I added that in. I was like, I think that would be a fun little ending for something so short. I didn't want it to be longer than, you know, a few minutes. And I just trusted the actors because I knew them. And I kind of wrote according to their personalities. So, you know, it was very easy for them to just pick it up and just kind of you know, be effortless with it, you know, not have to try to dig too much because they weren't too much different than themselves. They were just a cop and a suspect, you know. Yeah, that was fun.
Those were some of the people you worked with on other reels too.
Yeah, the Willie Lynch one, Lamar Cheston. He's also in Brooklyn in July, and so was the guy at Craig that played the cop. He's also in Brooklyn in July in that movie. So we're all like a group, and we just do projects together. Next month, I'm going up to New York to to do a new play called Feed the Beast with the same group. And it's all about the Tuskegee syphilis experiment. It's going to be pretty controversial. So yeah, I start that. So yeah, we still work together and we create a lot of stuff all the time.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're all just so talented. Their group, it's a very talented group. We're also creative. We all have different ideas, and there's a comfort level and a trust that we have when we work amongst each other. But often, what happens is what makes us work so well together, and why we do like to work good all together a lot, is that it's a symbiotic relationship. We've all grown, we just keep growing and as artists, and it's cool that we're all friends and we're just like working together and we're all growing in individual ways. And we inspire each other, we push each other, and it's a good relationship. Since I moved out of New York, I'm to the point now where it's not that like I said, I'm going to go back and work with them in the summer. You get to a point where you kind of want to start seeking new avenues and means of working and different artists to work with, because that also, as an artist, that can helps you grow. You always have to keep evolving and changing and digging deeper to try to strive to be the best that you can be, possibly. And so even though I have that relationship still with those guys, I'm more interested on just kind of like reaching out and doing other things outside of that group as well. Just for my own artistic, my yearning and my need that I have.
What other people have you worked with or other theater companies have you worked with that aren't in that group?
Yeah. When I first got to New York, the first couple of years, I met this young playwright. Her name is Ione Lloyd. She doesn't have a company, but she does a lot of work with the Public Theater, which is a very big theater down there. And I think she is a writer. I can't remember what television show, but she does a lot of television writing. So a lot of my first stuff was with her. She wrote a play called The King's Mistress about Martin Luther King and, a mistress, this woman that he's had over the years while he was out doing, it's kind of like, it's an interesting story. I did another play with her. It was a lot about her family, and I played a version of her father. But we did we did probably like 4 or 5 plays together, and it was a really fun and interesting creative process working with someone like that. I've worked with the Hippodrome Theater up in Gainesville, Florida, doing some Shakespeare. I've done Shakespeare with a couple of companies in New York, off Broadway. And, that was a lot of fun because now we're playing with different heightened English language. And that's always a challenge, but always very fun. I find working with that type of really classical theater with its strict rules and restrictions that it has, sometimes when you come back to doing the contemporary work, it's so much easier and you find so many different things that way. So that enhances a lot. So it's just different ways of working. But yeah, I've worked with a lot of different folks other than the Leon Gray experience group. Just over the years, because I've been doing this for almost 20 something years, professionally. So been all over the place, not to mention all the television stuff that I've done, just working with different directors and actors, from all over the country, all over the world, really, so yeah.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, I'll refer to my most recent Law and Order that I did not too long ago. Staying in character is not that hard for me. Again, like I said, it just starts with the script. Once you're on set, you're already in kind of the character's body because you're already fully dressed in costume. The costume is always the last piece that you put on that helps you make you feel like the character. So physically, that kind of keeps me checked in. When you're on set, there is a lot of downtime. So what I do in between takes, if I don't know my lines well, I just go into my trailer or to my space, and I just work on the script. Sometimes the actors will come to you and say, "Hey, do you want to rehearse lines?" Because sometimes they don't know their lines either, or they just want to get used to, because they don't know you. I had a scene with Ice-T. He doesn't know who I am. He never met me before, so he wants to know how I work. He wants to hear what my speaking rhythms are, my cadence and how I speak, how I'm going to deliver the line. So that helps him, to be ready for how he's going to do what he's going to do. So, actors will come over and say, "Hey, do you want to rehearse a little bit?" And we'll just kind of go back and forth saying our lines over in between takes. So when we get on in front of the camera's rolling, we just knock it out, and we like, "Oh, that was really good," and you don't have to do it again, or "That's great, let's try it again, but let's try something different with it." So you know what I mean? So you just have that preparation. So it's just, when you're on set, it's great. I love being on set. It's so much fun. The energy, everyone's so happy there. Everyone loves their job. There's tons of food around. People are really cool. And it's just a real laid back environment, but at least the sets that I've been on, I've heard there's terrible sets sometimes too. But for the most part, it's conducive into you staying. It's geared towards making you as the performer the best you can be, because, you can have the space to go and work. Other people will want to, rehearse lines or whatever. You have that time to do so. So, and I love that energy, and everyone's just all working together and, trying to put out the best product as best as they can,
Yeah. Yeah. Out of all of the sets you've been on, which one was at least the funnest experience for you?
I'll say Royal Pains. It was initially supposed to be like a 1-day shoot out in Montauk, Long Island, and I had to take the Long Island Railroad all the way out there. It was like 3 hours, and I shoot my scene, spent the day, hung out with some of the actors and the director, and I was leaving, and as I was on at the train station, I get a call from the producer, and he says, "Hey, we really liked your scene. We want to add another scene. Would you be okay staying another night?" And I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "Yeah, so we'll send somebody to the train station to pick you up. We'll put you up in a hotel here." Boom, boom. So they put me up in a sweet hotel, really cool. So I started shooting, and every day for that entire week, they kept extending my stay. And so I got to meet people, like all the stars of the show, hang out with them. I got to eat with them and talk with them. And I spent a week on set, and I ended up making a nice amount of money without even I think it was just going to be 1 day. And then the next thing you know, I was like, wow, I made some good money off of it, after all those days, because those days add up, and then you go into like overtime with all the SAG rules and everything. So it added up. So I say that was one of my most memorable and best times being on set.
Oh, that's cool. That was when you were a paramedic, right?
Yes.
Oh, cool. How long ago was that?
Oh my goodness, that was like what? I did that, I think, in 2011.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was a while ago.
5 years old.
Yeah, that was a long time ago. The thing that stinks about it is that I spent all that time shooting it, and I'm telling everyone, I was like, "Yeah, I'm going to be on like 2 episodes. Come check it out, blah, blah, blah. It's going to be so good." And they cut my scenes, and they're only like 1 scene. I'm like, "What?"
No.
I was so upset. I'm like, "Really? They just cut my scene?" So all my scenes, I was like, they paid me, but I was like, I was there all week. So I thought they were going to use it. But they're like, "Yeah, for time's sake," or "it just didn't fit in the story," or whatever. I'm like, so that's not.
I think I only watched one of your Law and Order scenes, but out of the 2, were you in 3 or 2 episodes?
I was in 3, but you could barely see me in the other one. I just played like a UPS delivery guy, and like there's like dead bodies in the house. And that was it. And I think it was just used for like a time lapse to show that time passed between killings or something like that. So yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I think I saw the one from season 6 where you were right in the beginning. I was gonna play
in the junkyard.
Yeah, I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to find him, but then you were right there in the first scene. I was like, okay.
Yeah, right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. An actor doesn't give away his secrets. It's like a magician telling you how to do the tricks.
Oh,
What the heck? Come on, it's all in the training. How can you ask me something like that? What?
I must know. I want to know.
You must know. Um, it's all that piece. I wrote that, and I think at the time it was something that was just what I was going through. I was having a hard time finding work as an actor. Heck, I was having a hard time just finding work. My son, who graduated from Miami Beach Senior High this past couple of weeks ago, he was very young, and my wife and I was just kind of in a strange place. Do you know what I mean? So a lot of what I wrote in there was just kind of like what I was going through. So it was easy for me to kind of connect to that. So it was kind of, in some ways, it was a little cathartic. You know what I mean? Just kind of letting those doubts out, and the conversations that I've had with my wife. It was in there. So it was just kind of like a little slice of life, and I'm like, that's drama, that's life. Do you know what I mean? And it also served as just a way as me marketing myself as that type of character, big, tough on the outside, but has that still a human being, still has wants and needs, and it's just not what you see on the surface. So that was just some type of material I wanted to put out at that point. But it was easy for me to connect to, so that's why it was easy for me to get to that emotion whenever I got
Yeah.
to the part.
Have there ever been characters that you've played and it was really hard for you to connect to them? And when you had to do scenes that were, I guess, dramatic and you needed to cry, it was difficult for you to cry? Or you have been doing this for so long that your brain is almost trained to play a character in a way that you've learned over time?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, when I was a younger actor, it was a little more difficult. And oftentimes when you're just starting out as an actor, the first thing you want to do is just get to that emotion right away and just be like, I can show you, I can cry whenever I need to, or I could do this. Do you know what I mean? But as you move on with the craft and knowing what you're doing, you learn in real life, you know, when someone's crying or going to cry, they don't show the world. They try to hide it. Do you know what I mean? Because of you don't want to be seen as vulnerable or whatever it is. You don't want to upset other people because you're upset or whatever it is. So you kind of stifle the tears. So what helps me is to just try to figure out ways as to try not to show it. And then I think once the tears do come out, it makes it that much more impactful and more powerful because it's that urge to resist showing it. So just trying to hold those emotions in. And what that does a lot of times physically, it just, your breathing changes, your physicality changes, and it gets to that point where your body has muscle memory. So you remember, like, when you're crying, you breathe a certain way, if you keep doing that over and over, you're going to feel something because you have that in your body. And the same thing with how you hold your body when you're in those things. So for me, it's just a matter of doing those little things like that kind of gets me to that space. And then playing with, like I said, not always wanting to show that emotion, but resisting to show it, trying to hide it and allowing it to build up and then spill over. And when it spills over, it's like, oh my God,
Yeah. I know that you teach at FIU. What exactly do you teach your students at FIU? I know you do theater, you teach theater, but what exactly do
Yeah. So I teach audition technique. I teach how to audition for the camera and for theater. I teach how to act in front of the camera, acting for the camera, because that's a different theater. You have to be it's just different because it's a bigger space. You have to be louder. Your body has to be more animated, blah, 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 because, people need to see you all the way in the back row and hear you at the back row of the theater. We're in camera, we're in this frame like we are now. So it's how do we fill that frame without being so big like you are in theater. So I teach both of those types of acting. And I teach voice and movement, which is, you haven't learned by now, I'm a very physical actor, and I'm very much into connecting the voice, the body, and the spirit all to act as one. So I teach voice and movement, and I employ a lot of those techniques for young actors.
That's cool. Yeah. I read an article about how you were the first Black professor at theater professor at FIU.
I
And
think so. I don't know if that is 100% true, but people keep saying that.
yeah.
I think there may have been someone there before me, but there wasn't. But now our department is becoming very diverse.
Mm-hmm.
We have a Filipina American as our musical theater professor who came in. We have Cuban and Peruvian professors, and along with myself. So our department is our students are very diverse, and our department, the faculty, is starting to reflect that as well, which is, I think, is a great thing.
Yeah. That's really good. Yeah.
So now what the steps are, you actually reminded me because I have to do some editing on it. I have it written. I think I'm on my fourth draft of it, but I like this one. Now I just have to properly edit and format it better. But I'm looking to do a reading at the M Ensemble, which they work at the Centrals by the River Theater out of there. Just do a stage reading of it, because I still feel in the writing process, I'm at the point where I need to hear it out loud. I have all these characters, I have the story, but now I need to hear how it sounds and how it flows and see what changes I need to make with it. And so we're going to invite an audience in. I really hope to get a lot of good feedback from folks listening to the story. It's a story that needs to be told. It's a story that's been buried for almost 100 years, 80 years or so. I mean, it's coming out now, but it's still not something that people know about or want to talk about. And it's an unfortunate incident, but it's a part of our history. It's an ugly part of our history. And I think, especially now with, I hope I don't want to get you in trouble or anything, the happenings in the state,
Yeah.
with, books being banned and certain subject material not being allowed to be taught in the classroom. I think stories like this now, more than ever, especially something that's been buried already for hundreds of years, needs to be told. It's a part of history, whether you like that history or not. And I think acknowledging and understanding that history is the path towards recovery and fixing this stuff, so that we don't have to talk about it anymore. And that's a purpose that I want it to do. But it just sheds light on the many heroes, Black and white. There were white people who helped out these people during this time, and they think all the white people were bad. That's not what the story is about. It's showing how this town rallied together to help other people, just show the humanity. And I think that's an important story too, because when you hear stories like this, you only hear one narrative, but
Yeah.
I want to tell the whole story of what happened. There's good and bad everywhere,
Mm-hmm.
but I think it's a very important story to tell. And it's taken me longer than I wanted to, because I want to get it right. I got the story firsthand from one of the last remaining descendants, Miss Lizzie Robinson Jenkins. Look her up. She's the president of the Real Rosewood Foundation.
Mm-hmm.
She basically commissioned me to write this play, and it's her family story. It's her mother's and her aunts, her grandmother. She's just one generation removed from all that, and she's heard it her whole life.
Mm-hmm.
And she's passing it down, so that, again, the history is not lost a second time.
I think I was telling my friend about it this morning, and he told me how he's heard about it because he read it in his English class, because they were reading about Florida history.
Mhm.
but I didn't even hear about it till yesterday or this morning, which kind of shows that these things need to be heard and seen. And I think that's great that you're writing this play, because once it's out there, then more people are going to be more aware. And then, like you said, the things that we're talking about right now that need to be talked about will soon not be talked about, because then it'll be this will be more settled down. So
Yeah. Yeah, I just want to show one that even though we are, black people, we're all people, we're human beings. I always wanted to fight against the stereotypes or the negative images of black people in general, especially what's showed on television or the news and those sort of things. And I'm a black man. I am a present and loving father and husband. I've never been to jail. I am educated. Things like that. I want to show that, yeah, we exist. Do you know what I mean? And it's not just the negative that you always see. Oh, I spent 4 years in prison and haven't seen my children, and all this stuff that's deemed as, just kind of like the standard or what people expect of you, especially folks, not everyone's surrounded by people of color or black people, so they have these images in their heads, or these ideas of who we are. And I just want to just kind of shatter all of that type of thinking. That's one of my big missions as an artist. And I think, that's what August Wilson wrote about. That's what other playwrights and true artists, black artists have always been fighting for, is just that we are human beings. We love, we laugh, we cry, we bleed the same color blood as everybody else, at the end of the day. And, we just want to live peacefully with everyone, and why is that so hard? So just kind of just changing that and always trying to keep a positive image, that's one of my big things, and that's why I love taking on those roles, because it allows me a chance to do that, in a creative and artful way.
Yeah, that's a great mission as an artist.
Man, I was just talking to someone about this the other day, and I absolutely hate this question, because it's so hard to answer. There's so many things. Like, as soon as I say one thing, then I'm like, oh yeah, but I love this. Oh, but I love that one too. Oh, it's just like, it's hard. But when someone asked me this and I couldn't think of an answer, and then the other day, for whatever reason, I thought about this film, and I was like, that's one of my favorite movies, and you might laugh. But one of my all-time favorite movies is The Wizard of Oz. I love that movie. I watch it whenever it's on. I don't know, it's awesome. I think it's a great movie. I love the story, and it just has a special place in my heart for whatever reason.
Yeah.
As far as acting, my go-to, especially for performances, has always been, it's a toss-up between Denzel Washington in Malcolm X or Marlon Brando in The Godfather. I absolutely love that movie. I think the wedding scene is like the best. I watch that over and over. Roles, did you ask me roles I want to play, or just favorite plays?
Oh, I just said favorite plays, but sure, roles you'd like to play as well.
Yeah, I'll do that instead of favorite plays. Someday I hope I get to play Othello, Shakespeare Othello. And I would love to play Troy in Fences. I think that would be, I'm pretty much I am at the age to be able to play that role. And I really would love to take that one on. And those are two of my favorite plays too.
You said Fences, and then what was the other one?
Do you know the story of Othello by Shakespeare?
Othello. No, I don't.
Oh no, you have to. It's very good.
Yeah. I'll do my research. I've only done with Shakespeare, well, Romeo and Juliet, Midsummer Night's Dream, And yeah, those are the only ones I really have gotten into.
I've played Oberon in the Midsummer Night's Dream, the King of the Fairies.
Oh yeah.
I did that.
Yeah. I had such an issue when I did Midsummer Night's Dream because I did it in 8th grade and then COVID hit. So I never got to properly do it, but I learned everything. I was Peter Quince. Yeah,
Peter Quince. Oh, nice.
yeah. And then when I came to Beach High, we did it when I was a freshman, but I got really sick like 2 days before the show. Like
Oh, no.
and I was like, no, the show must go on. I have to go. I have to do it. And my doctor's like, no, you have to stay in bed because I had a really bad flu.
Oh, no.
And I don't know. I hope Miss Lafredo doesn't think I ruined the show. But I was I don't even remember because I played like 3 different characters. We were short on actors, so but yeah, and then this year I wrote an adaptation of Romeo and Juliet with the Colony Theater. Miami New Drama, they came to our school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really cool.
Yeah, it was really fun. Yeah. Do you know the playwright? Her name's Carmen Peláez. I don't know.
It sounds familiar. I don't know any of the work, but I've heard the name.
She's a Cuban actress, playwright. She has really cool stuff, and she taught me a lot. She was my mentor, and I wrote a play before for the thespian competition, but it was my first one, so I was an amateur. I still am, but I wasn't super. I didn't know as much. So after that experience with the judges, giving me feedback and from Carmen, I think that's when I realized it's something I really like and something I think I'm good at. So I think I want to go into that profession.
Excellent.
Yeah. But that is all I have today for the questions.